All right, this is your color wheel and spheres practice. This is what it's going to look like when you are finished. You're going to be creating a color wheel that goes through the Roy G. Biv color pattern and uses white for blending and colored pencil for blending. And you're also going to be creating 3 spheres that are experimenting with different color schemes. In order to get ready to start working on this, you need to create a little template, like a worksheet, so that you can make all of these, and then we will be cutting them out and gluing them into your sketchbook. So in order to be ready to do that, you need to have a compass, right? And we're using these safety compasses. And you need to have a very pointy 2H or 4H pencil would be fine, and you need the 6x9 or half sheet of drawing paper. So let's get started in setting up our worksheet. All right, so we're going to start by making the color wheel, and we're going to make it up here in the corner. And in order to make this, you need to understand that however far out you go on the compass is how big your circle will be. The largest part of our circle is going to be right here at the 2-inch mark, okay? If yours isn't labeled in the center here on the 2-inch mark, you can see that it's the one that's using the outside line just right after the 1. If you can't find it or you're unsure, just raise your hand and I will come over and show you where it is. But your first biggest circle is at the 2-inch mark. So I'm going to come up at the top, and to use this compass you put your finger on the brad in the center and then rotate it around. And what I'm going to do first is just make sure that I have put it in a good place so that I can get the compass all the way around without it going off the paper, but also leaving enough space to do the 3 spheres that we are putting on here. So this is a good spot for it right about here. Now I'm going to hold the center of the compass down with my non-dominant hand, and I'm going to put the tip of my pencil in that 2-inch spot, and then I'll just move it around like that, right? So here we go, we've got our little first mark. Now I'm not going to move it because I want it to stay in the center to make the other ones, and your next mark is at the 1.5, and the 1.5 is right here. So we've got 2 and then 1.5, and I'm just going to make another group of lines that goes around, makes it look sort of like a target. Okay, and the last circle is going to be at the 1-inch. Just like that, and as I went around I noticed that this has gotten a little light. And then after you make your 3 concentric circles, you can move the compass. Now, what we're going to do now is to divide our color wheel into a bunch of different sections. So we have 12 different segments that we need to divide our color wheel into. So what we're going to do first is take the compass, and I can see a little light indentation where I was pressing the brad down. Was this little metal guy while I was making the line. So I'm going to use that as my center point and line up the ruler so that I have about half of the circle over here and half of the circles over there, and draw a line through all of them, dividing it in half. After you divide it in half, we're going to do the same thing but going the other way so that we've divided it into quarters. So just check and make sure that your line is as straight as possible. Again, if it's not perfect, that's okay, but we're aiming for fairly close to even quarters. So we've got it divided into fourths. Now, each one of these sections is going to need to divide into 3 from here. So I'm going to take my little compass and I'll lay it down to make the sections. And what I'm going to do is visually estimate how much 1/3 is. So if I'm looking at this, I think that that looks like it's about 1/3 here and 1/3 up here. So you're checking both sections to make sure that it goes straight all the way through. And then you'll draw a line. And then we'll rotate it over to the next section. All right, making sure that it's about 1/3. Again, if they're a little off, that's okay. If they're very, very off, then you need to erase and adjust. But this is about thirds from there, and then now we need to do the other section, and we'll do it in the same way. If I look ahead, another way to do this is to make little marks where this looks like it's about the same length as this and is that, and you can kind of estimate it from there. If you feel more comfortable doing that, that's fine. And I'm going to go through and do that, making sure that it goes straight through the center every time. And then we're going to go like that. Now, I'm going to label this color wheel, and I want you to label it too. Make sure you label it on the outside, and it's just so that we add the right colors in the right spots. And we'll be cutting off these labels and then relabeling it when we put it into your sketchbook. But for right now, it can help to keep you from making mistakes if you have it labeled. So I'm going to start with red, and then we'll have red, orange, orange, and then yellow, orange. This order is mandatory. It's not mandatory that you start with red right here. You can start with red anywhere, but it has to go in this order, or your color wheel will be incorrect. Yellow, green, green, blue, green, blue, blue, violet, or blue, purple. Whichever one you like the best is fine with me. And then red, violet, or purple. Okay, so it's labeled just like that so that we remember when we're getting ready to do it, which way we're going to color it in, and we don't have to think about it. Okay, so now we're going to do our 3 spheres, and for your 3 spheres, you need to have space for all 3 of them plus their little shadows to exist on the circle. So we're going to be using 1-inch measurements for the circles, and in my reference, the shadows are going out this direction, but with our sphere reference that we've been using, the shadows go out in a different direction. I don't have them handy, but it goes out on the other side. So we're going to remember that when we're making these. So we're going to do 1 inch, and again, put the compass down and check with the 1 inch to make sure that it goes around and doesn't get in the way of any of the other practices. So we need 1 for monochromatic, and then I'm going to scoot over here and do, it can go up a little bit if it needs to, right? Because we're going to cut them out, so it won't matter. But let's check and make sure it goes around. Good job. All right. Cool. And that's triadic. And then down here, the last one is warm, cool. So it doesn't matter where you put them. If you find a different way to set them up, that's fine. But we need to make sure that we have space for this little shadow situation. And each one is going to have a little shadow situation. So I probably put these guys a little bit too close. So he's going to have a little bit smaller of a shadow than the other ones. And that's okay. If you're any closer than this, you need to redraw one to make it work. Okay? So this one is going to become monochromatic. So it's M-O-N-O, chromatic, C-H-R-O-M-A-T-I-C. So that means one color. This is going to be triadic, T-R-I-A-D-I-C, 3 colors. And then this one will be warm, cool. Okay, and these are all color schemes. All right, thank you.